So, welcome to the Clearer Method podcast. I'm your host, Zaid, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Carol Ann. Carol, can you just kick us off with a quick intro about how you got into executive recruiting and what led you to build your unique nine-step approach to retain research search?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Zaid, for having me today. It's an honor to be on your podcast. And I actually began in search over 35 years ago.
Yeah,
And so I'm not a kid at this, but I had my first startup at age 26 back in the Midwest. And it was an international modeling and talent agency. And why I lay that groundwork is that at the young age, I had been a talent and I would go into the casting calls and I would look around and I would always think, I know how I would treat people differently. And so I decided to launch my own firm. And I also was very clear, and this is something I'll talk about in my process, and that is my values, what was important to me. And I wanted to work with the number one person in the world. And at that time, it was Eileen Ford out of New York City. 6 months later, literally, there was a Midwest model search with 5 states, 500 girls, 5 finalists, and 3 of them were from my agency.
yeah,
And the girl who won was from my agency. And she won an incredible contract and worked in Milan and Paris and Germany. And lots of cool stuff. But for 10 years, I literally was one of the top boutique agencies in the world of
yeah,
finding good talent. So throughout the years, I was really fortunate to work in search. And it was when I was still in Minnesota, I had been recruited to an executive search team. And that is where I fell in love with retained search and being very intentional about the kind of work I did.
yeah. I know you said being very intentional about the work that you're doing for retained search. How does, for me that knows nothing about what you're doing, how does like a typical day in your life look like as a retained search expert?
Very good. My philosophy is I need to be grounded first in
Yeah,
order to be good for you, my client, or my candidates.
yeah,
And so my day will start at 6. I ease into it with meditation and some exercise, and it might be a walk around the block with my dog.
yeah,
But I really just want to get very centered and clear with my thought process. Then when I go into the office and I look at the desk with the projects, I'm able to stay very level with emotions on what I'm doing. Meaning if I have a very intense search, which usually is called critical hire, then that has a lot of moving parts and components to it rather than a maybe a little lower level search. And
yeah,
so I think it's very important, and I again talk to my candidates about this, and I am fortunate to work with the best clients in the Bay Area that are in alignment with this type of philosophy.
yeah,
And so, so a day really consists of definitely for me, I do everything, Zed. I literally, my husband and I run our firm.
mm,
And so not only do I work directly with the CEO and client, I help build strategy, for building their team. I create the posts, the job posts that go up on LinkedIn and on many
yeah,
boards. I monitor it, I check the analytics, and then I study hundreds of profiles to narrow it down to a group of people that I would like to speak to.
yeah,
And then that process begins.
yeah, yeah. That's different approach. Can you just like walk us through the industries and roles that you specialize in,
Very good.
especially the C level?
Yeah. Well, yes, I would love to share that. First of all, I just want to give a little understanding to the industry, and that is there's 3 different verticals in search. I work at the highest level, which is executive search, and retained. Retained means a client secures us with our retainer, and we are the only ones working on that project. We're exclusive, and we get to know the hiring manager and the team, and we deliver. There's contingency, which I worked in at one time, only 3 months, because I thought it was a different way to treat people. And it's usually where a recruiter will collect a bunch of resumes online, and literally they have a quota to fill. And if you're my client, I may just send you 20 people that I may have not even talked to them, and would say, now you pick who you want to talk to. And it's very tough on the candidate because they'll get ghosted by recruiters. And then there's what's called staffing. And staffing, I worked in a firm, which was lovely years ago. And that's where literally you have a business development person that brings you in job orders or requisitions to fill. And then you're in a specific discipline. So fast forward today, having had all that experience in a variety of verticals, I knew I wanted to be in the exclusive team, and that being retained search. And then I consciously chose commercial building and real estate development in San Francisco, and also renewable energy, because I'm a passionate environmentalist, have been for 40 years. I love all the new technology coming out in that area. And the commercial building happened because my father was a custom home builder back in the Midwest. And while it was on a smaller scale, the principles were the same in that the people were really salt of the earth people. They loved building. They loved what they do. And so I wanted to work with people like that. And so I've really carved out a beautiful niche in the area. Again, the building also covers luxury home builders. It covers tenant improvement if someone's taking over a big building, multi-use, mixed use, family. So I should say building in general is the umbrella of what I do.
Yes, there's definitely refreshing working with someone that's given the same energy back to you. For what trends are you seeing like right now in the executive hiring landscape, especially like industries like you mentioned, renewable energy, fintech and engineering? What trends are you seeing at the moment?
Of course, everyone today is concerned about AI. And how it affects their position. And so to the industries I work in, where I see it, I would say supporting these verticals. For example, in the building, the commercial building, when I had visited a client and they showed me, and it was where, let's say they're visualizing how they're going to redo this building downtown. Right now in San Francisco, a lot of the super tall buildings are being made into condos or living. They want to bring back more of a community into downtown. And I've seen where the AI can, you prompt it correctly, it can give you some really nice drawings and landscape of what that can look like. And so rather than when my father was in the industry, he would get out his tablet and a pencil and start sketching his vision, So the blessing there that I hear from my builders is that it gives another perspective on what they would look at that same spot, same space size, things like that. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you, bless you.
Oh my goodness. And then in the renewable energy where I see it, and that's been fascinating because we work with a global technology company in Silicon Valley. We've been very blessed to build their team alongside their growth to 48 placements in 10 years. And where I see it work with them is in the engineering department. And it's usually, again, if they're looking at a model they're developing, some new technology. And again, when they prompt it with their ideas to see what that brings out. So I think the biggest trend is AI.
Yeah.
And the other trend is my clients really want people back in the office and
Yeah.
that it's not all remote anymore. And, we all learned through COVID, remote can work, but I also believe in the balance of being in the office to create a good community.
Yeah.
Because I may learn something new from you. If I
Mhm.
wasn't sitting next to you, I don't know if you've worked in the corporate space as well over your time.
Yeah.
But those were some of my best mentors and learning.
Mentors. Yeah. It's definitely different learning from someone, like being close to them, and just,
Yes,
as you just feel a different kind of connection. So yeah, I know you mentioned about how AI is affecting their position. How long has that come in? Like, when did that come into the picture?
it's been a slow, like easing into it that I've seen in the Bay Area, probably for about the last, it was a little bit before COVID, is when
Yeah.
some of my commercial builders talked to me about it, because they would say, if you can find someone that has a little knowledge on this, that would be a plus or a bonus,
Yeah.
right? And so, again, I always tell my candidates that I'm working with that get out ahead of it. Be curious. Don't be afraid of it. In fact, my husband and I are right now taking a 21-day challenge on a program called Coursive, and it shows 21 different sound bites of AI programs.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of myself, because as I'm taking, I'm like, this is good. And because I want to be able to speak to it, right? If I'm
Yeah.
recruiting someone. And um, and I don't want to be left in the dark. If it can help me in some way, better what I do, then why not? Why
Yeah.
not
Why,
learn?
why not? Why not give it a go? We're in times
Yes,
are changing. You have to be able to adapt to how you're living right now. So when did you start thinking of looking into AI? Like, when did that come into mind?
I would have to say probably about 2 years ago,
Two
when
years.
Chat GPT really, became a big deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm very fortunate. My husband is highly curious, and he's an award-winning writer, and he'll come in and go, honey, you got to see this. So he's been on the trend before it started.
Yeah.
And so he was the one that really encouraged me on getting into Chat GPT. And then, of course, I use it a lot on Canva. And
Mhm.
I love seeing what I can create with Canva, using that prompt.
Yeah. Beautiful. And for you, for yourself, like, what's working well right now? What are the positives in your retained search practice right now?
Well, I would say, first of all, I really believe that if a person has a mind, body, soul
Yeah.
mindset, and what I mean by that is mind being the mindset. And this is one of my favorite quotes that I live by and I have hanging on my wall. And it says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah.
And it's by
I'm gonna,
Dr.
I'm
Dyer.
gonna write that down. By who?
Yes, in fact, I'll send it to you
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Please.
you can have it. But prolific writer, psychologist, and doctor. And I have followed his work for 35 years. And actually, it's what I base my practice on. And so I believe that you can either have a job. I think anybody can get a job,
Yeah.
but to find a career,
Mhm.
a mindful career, I think you need to know how to unlock the code to a career.
Yeah.
And there's actually a course I'm launching here in September that I'm so excited about, that is
Nice.
about the mind, body, soul connection. And it really brings to light, you've got to first be really grounded in your values. And what I mean by that is get clear on what you really want. And I don't mean, and I always can tell people when people come to me and say, oh, I want the position to be 200 or 250,000, and they lead with money.
Yeah.
I know then that's ego.
Yeah.
And
100%.
yep, and that person's going to be a tough one
Yeah.
to place. And it's all about them. Where what I like to bring to the table is a mindset of possibilities. And I actually just had an amazing search that was with one of my top builders, and they needed a director of pre-construction.
Yeah.
And I always ask my clients, if you could have that perfect person, tell me what that looks like. And so they'll give me a laundry list of everything. Oh, Carol Ann, if you can get them a half hour from the office, which if you can imagine in San Francisco, most people don't live in downtown San Francisco, an hour away on the highway, but they'll give me everything that they would ideally like to have in this person. And so what I then do is take that, and then I literally, with intention, try to find that person. And it happened that I did. There was a dynamic gentleman who could literally ride his electric bike to this office 15 minutes away. So right away I thought, okay, cool. Then he had all these skill set. Well, what was fascinating is when I met with him, he had come out of a very large company where this one was medium and doing very, very well. And I said to him, I said, I'm not going to convince you to take this position. I want what's best for you.
Yeah.
So talk about your values. And he was very grounded with this conversation. So I was really excited. But he said, Carol Ann, time is important, and time with my family. Turned out he's a triathlete. And he said, I asked him his wish list. And he said, if I could be close to the office, if I could be off on Friday afternoons a bit early, because I usually have to drive to Santa Cruz or Santa Monica or somewhere for my races. Well, anyway, he gave me that wish list. And then at the end, I said, would you be willing to consider a different pay range? I said, again, it's not that you're not worth it, but if the exchange is value and time and mental well-being, right?
Yeah.
What's that worth to you? So why I share that is I gave him some homework, and in the end, it showed up on paper, and he came back and he said, you know what, thank you for bringing this clarity to me. And he ended up securing the position, and he is just killing it, and he's happy and they love him, and he's going to be groomed for a really amazing position. And so that is what I do and how I do it differently, because at the end of the day, you matter, Zed. You're not a number to me. Any of my candidates, I look at the value that not only they can bring, but what your value, what's important. And there's times where people say, no, I want to stay at this amount. I'm like, I wish you the best, and I hope you find that. So and I'm happy to say our retention is at 95%. Our people stay at least 3 years. Usually, actually, I have someone that just celebrated their 10-year anniversary of someone I placed in a commercial building position. And so then I know I did good.
Good job. Yeah. I know what you mentioned there was really interesting about ego. And I was speaking to my brother about it, how when you provide value without expecting anything back, you get so much more out of it instead of just trying to get something for yourself. I realized the most progress I made in life when I was just helping people without actually expecting anything in return. And then eventually they do give you something back in return. So, because people want to help you, and they want to help you if you help them. So that's very interesting. But yeah, on the flip side, what are some challenges or blockers that you're facing right now in today's hiring process?
So the biggest one has been the hybrid roles and people that want to work remote.
Yeah.
They were, they had that opportunity. And so that will eliminate a lot of people, usually when I'm just doing my initial research. And that's okay, because
Yeah.
I want to honor their truth. However, what I really come back to people, like say I really like them and I want to learn more about you, Zed, and why the remote is so critical to you. And then when I hear their truths, I'll bring in the fact that, have you thought from the employer's side? And only because my husband and I have had 3 major companies and we've hired over 400 people in 27 years. And we know what it takes to provide a beautiful atmosphere, environment to work in, and insurances and perks and bonuses and all the things that go into that. And I think that's probably the one thing that I see candidates have lost their way on, that they think it's more all about them and that I should be so lucky to be talking to them. And I
Yeah.
feel I am grateful they give me their time, but on the same token, I'm very respectful of my clients because I've lived it. I know what it takes, and so that's where then I always like to ask my candidates, what can you do to come halfway or more? What is it? What's the deal breakers for you? In other words, if you had to be back in the office, could you do 9 to 5 instead of 8 to 5, missing some traffic or something, and making it up in another way. And
Yeah.
so I really, it is all different. It's just different, the process in hiring today.
Yeah. Okay. And so that's the main challenges that you're facing, because I know you mentioned earlier AI has come into play for the past 2 years. Do you have
Mhm.
any problems with that?
Well, yeah, that's definitely a concern as well.
Yeah.
And so I would say not as much,
Yeah.
in terms of my industry that I work in,
Yeah.
but I think that, I mean, it's here and it is coming into every industry.
Yeah. And it's coming
I,
fast. Yeah.
yeah, and I actually am known for doing very unique searches. Last year, I did a cancer research scientist
Yeah.
for a startup, and I know they wanted this person to have some AI experience. I recently worked on a chief marketing officer. Boy, they better know AI,
Yeah.
and because when I see, and my husband came out of the advertising marketing industry as a chief marketing officer, and he said they better get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the industries. And actually, one of the things I did with AI that was a lot of fun last week,
Yeah.
because I wanted to give my candidates something to feel good about and not fear AI.
Yeah.
And in my industry, especially the building, I literally asked Chat GPT-5, give me a list in the trades of all the positions that will not be replaced. And I had over 80 possibilities come out of that. And
Yeah.
so it's everything from your electricians to your plumbers, to your engineers, to your sheetrockers. Think of what we do with our hands. And
Physical.
it's yeah, physical. And it's needed. There's a shortage of builders across the country. And it's a very well respected industry.
Yeah.
And and even our recycling people that pick up our recyclables every week. I think the world of them, because I know, I wouldn't want all my trash being piled up. And actually last week I baked them chocolate chip cookies and I took it out to them at like 6:30 in the morning, because we had a couple rats,
Yeah.
not in the house, but out and back. We live in a wooded area. And I knew my basket didn't smell real good. And so I brought out the cookies in this beautiful little bag, and they just smiled and they go, thank you for acknowledging me. And to me, it was just like, thank you for taking this smelly basket away. I'm grateful. And, it's just little things like that. But I think if people can look at whatever they do with joy, right? And he actually, the gentleman said, it's just my job. It's okay. And I said, but I respect you.
Yeah,
And I think people just need today more than ever to know they matter and that what they're contributing is going to make a difference.
yeah,
And I think just like you said when you talked to your brother, um, I've always been of the belief I've done things without any hidden agenda. Like I am
you-
just grateful.
yeah,
And so that has really, if I had a secret sauce, I just don't take things personal. I do things for the right reasons.
yeah,
And then I will say all our business comes in by referral because people have had a good experience. Um, and we do a gratitude gift box for every candidate we
yeah,
place. And so, yeah, there's those kind of things.
yeah. That's amazing. What you said about not taking things personal is it's amazing advice, because a lot of people are so stuck up on taking things personal, they're not going to progress. So you just need to, go with it. But yeah, for yourself, Carol, what are you most focused on for the next 6 to 12 months at Went Wentworth Executive Recruiting?
Very good. Well, we continue to do our work in the executive critical hire space.
Yeah,
And again, it can be any vertical because I've really been blessed in, 35 years of doing this work. I've worked in about every industry.
yeah,
And so, but what's important to me is I align with the client. And
yeah,
so search is number one. And then the other big thing that I truly am passionate about is
yeah,
this course we're launching, and it's called Unlocking the Career Code, a Mindful Career, Mind, Body, Soul. And my intention there is truly to work with people to calm the monkey mind as we know it,
yeah,
right? And that chatter that tells us we can't do it when you really could, understanding thought loops, patterns we're stuck in. And and I really want to coach people and train them to be open to possibilities and not have fear around what we're going through right now.
yeah,
And I think as we spoke briefly right before the call on health, um, I love that you're passionate about
yeah,
boxing. And as I shared, my son was one of the top rowers, and
yeah.
my other son was into baseball, and we're into health. And I don't even want to say it's a lifestyle. I mean, every day I start with it. And so I want people to also that tell me they don't have time, I'll say, just give yourself a 10-minute walk, get outside and connect with nature. If you just do that, it can change the frequency in your brain. It's been
100%.
proven.
Yeah,
And then finally, your soul, spirit. And let's do an inventory on what lights you up. And I can promise you, because I've worked with hundreds of people in my 35-year career, that when you put in the time for self-transformation, it shows up. Synchronicities show up, people show up, opportunities show up. That career that you had hoped but hadn't been intentional about will show up. It
absolutely.
always does. It
Yeah,
always does.
absolutely. It's not just like there's not just a magic trick when it comes to health and wealth. Like it's actually got to be your lifestyle.
Yes.
If you haven't been living a certain lifestyle for years, it's gonna show up. You can't just change it over in a day or 2 months. That's what I was telling my friend. Like if you put in the work for years, like you don't even have to do too much. As he said, go on a 10-minute walk and you'll be fine. Yeah, it's about building a healthy lifestyle
And it's a
forever.
start.
Yeah,
Yes. And I love when I get to visit with young people like yourself that have locked into this mindset because again, my son will, as I shared with you a little bit, he's always like, I want you and dad to be around for the long haul.
Yeah.
And I had him when I was a little older. And so we always joke that we're on the end of the food chain now, meaning 65.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but yet at my physical in March, my doctor said, Carol Ann, your health is like a 45-year-old. She said, you've got longevity.
Yeah.
And when I was young, like you, I just chose not for any religious thing. I don't smoke, drink, do drugs. And again, so friends of Jack's that see me, and then they know their parents that chose differently. Again, I said, it's your choice. That is the beauty. You have choice to make that difference in your life, and it will affect your career in the long game, because I feel like I've got another 25 good years ahead.
Yeah.
And
As
I know that.
That's how you should think. Yeah, you know that.
Because actually my father was 92. He just passed away, and he literally was still building at 80. He ran a company, and he was like Carol Ann, and he exercised and he did all the things.
Yeah.
And so I had a role model that I could go, I've got good genes if I do the right things. And so that's what I've told both my boys, and I think it's working.
Yeah, it was working. That's what you said there about your parents or grandparents that lived
It
to
was
about
actually my father.
your father. Yeah, your father. Same thing with me. My granddad lived to like 104, and yeah, it's insane. He lived to 104, and he wasn't doing too much. Like he was just living a healthy, consistent lifestyle for years and years on end. And look at the results it's got him. So yeah, it's
Say
amazing.
it is wonderful. So see, I love that. And then if you can be that bright light to other people, and that is always my intention, that if I can share some of the wisdom that I gleaned along the way, I would love to. I also find that people all have their own experiences,
Yeah,
and they may get stuck in their story. And again, no judgment. It's not for me to decide, but if I can inspire them in some way to
yeah,
make that choice, to add more exercise or to be curious and to take a course.
yeah,
And I just, we're blessed when you think of all the things today that we have access to. And there's really no reason you can't go online. And actually, my young son, when he moved out, I missed him so much when he went on to school, because I would have problems with my technology. And I'd say, Jack, and he would come in, he'd hit a couple buttons and it was perfect. So then he said, when I'd call him, he goes, YouTube, Mom, go to YouTube tutorials, you'll find it. And so he forced me to learn. And now YouTube is it, right?
yeah,
And so, yeah, I've always believed in possibilities. And if the quote I'll leave you with, which I also believe firmly in, is when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
yeah. That's amazing. That is amazing. I think people nowadays, especially, tend to look at the negatives instead of looking at the positives, which is not good. So, yeah, looking ahead for you, like, what's one shift you think that needs to happen, whether it's in the recruiting industry, leadership development, or your own business?
Um, Probably the one shift I would say across the board
Yeah,
with everything you just mentioned is truly to be flexible and to be mindful that change is going to happen no matter what.
yeah,
They always say you can count on change. And we're seeing it at such a rapid pace right now, in especially technology, right? And
yeah,
so whether you're in leadership, first just to embrace that, yeah, this is a thing. May not like it, but it's a thing. And then I'll go back to, it's really why I am passionate about grounding and about doing meditation and journaling every morning,
Yeah.
because there's a sense of control there when I can sit down to my journal and write out what I'm grateful for. And it sets my pace for the day. And that's something I know to be real, because sure enough, I can have something show up out of the clear blue that could blindside me. And now today, I will say, I don't react to it.
Yeah.
I just am more like, okay, got it. How am I going to solve that? And so I think if everyone can really just know, accept, I should say, that change is real and you may not like it, but just be with it. And again, and if you're having a bad hair day, get out and walk, get out on the treadmill. Um, my son's girlfriend has a hula hoop. The young kids are into the hula hoops right now at 25, and she'll do that for an hour to get anxiety and stress out. And
Yeah.
it's actually very endearing, because now she's making all these videos and it goes along with her yoga and breathwork program.
Yeah.
I'm like, although I tried it, and I'll say, Zaid, I could not quite do the hula hoop.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just bring more laughter in, and humor if you can, because it it will attract higher frequency of energy. And
Absolutely.
and when that energy happens, again, good things happen. And I do want to share this, that
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I'm Pollyanna by any means, because a lot of people are going through a lot right now.
Yeah.
I hear it. I literally receive every week up to 50 requests on LinkedIn, on my emails, text messages, referrals, asking for help. People are in fear of losing their jobs right now.
Yeah.
Um, and and so when I do coach them, I get them into breath work. I get them to quiet their minds. And I speak from experience, because in 2008, when the recession hit, we had a business in Sausalito,
Yeah.
4-year, very successful coffee house on the water. My husband wanted to put our life savings into it, and we both agreed. And it was the community, really globally. People came all over. It was phenomenal. We lost it in 2008. We
Yeah.
lost everything, Zed. We lost our home. We had cars repossessed in the night. We went bankrupt. Like, we were stripped down to about $5,000 overnight.
Yeah.
And our son, Jack, he was 7 at the time. And we had this conversation a few weeks ago when we were hiking up in Bend, Oregon. And he said, Mom and Dad, he goes, the thing I loved about you two is that you stayed grounded. And he said, that taught me resilience. And he goes, now when I have my own company, I know there's good days, bad days. It goes up and down all around. And he said, but I stay steady because you chose not to go off the deep end, which we had friends that divorced. We had friends that started drinking and doing drugs. Like, it was it was a very weird time. And I just knew in my heart, it actually got me back into recruiting, which I love.
Yeah.
And so while it's very hard going through it, and there was actually I don't know how to say it, just a simple joy, because we didn't have to manage all those people and all the drama
Yeah.
that comes with having a company like that. And in that moment, I knew if I ever went into business again, I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And here we are,
That's amazing. Yeah.
So I do speak from experience. I don't tell anyone to do something I haven't
Yeah.
done. And I
100.
actually have an it list that I came up with, about 50 things that it happened.
Yeah.
So how do we move through it?
How do we move?
And
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, that was incredible, Carol. Thanks for sharing your insights. You brought an amazing perspective on executive recruiting, leadership, also the things you've been through, how you've been able to push through, focusing on health, as we spoke about earlier. But yeah, that was an amazing